Hi everybody, welcome to Christian Homestead. My name is Jared. I have some news about 3I Atlas. It's this interstellar object that most scientists think is a comet, but they're really not sure. There's a new paper that was published and also some new observations that make this thing even stranger. And I want to start off with this quote from Joseph Smith. We've read these quotes a million times where he describes the sign of the Son of Man, but I want to look at this one in particular. You can find this on the Joseph Smith Papers website. This is Manuscript History of the Church. And we're just going to go to the bottom here. He says, "Then will appear one grand sign of the Son of Man in heaven. But what will the world do? They will say it is a planet, a comet, etc." And this is really the key to this video. A planet, a comet. They don't know. They won't know. And in this case, with 3I Atlas, they don't know. And the language that they use sounds a lot like this. A planet, a comet, we don't know. I'll show you just a minute. We'll look at the paper that was just published. Joe Smith continues, "But the Son of Man will come as the sign of the coming of the Son of Man, which will be as the light of the morning cometh out of the east." And in other quotes, he talks about the fact that it's going to be small at its first appearance, and then it's going to get bigger and bigger until every eye shall see it. It's going to be all in a blaze. Here's the other quote if you want to pause and read this. Okay, so I found out about this from my friend Mindy with Temples of Jesus. Make sure to subscribe to her. She has a Second Coming channel. She pointed me to this channel called Stephen Burns. He's a geophysicist. And he just published this video today, the day that I'm recording this. I'm not sure if I'm going to publish this on the 12th or the 13th yet, but as I'm recording it, he published this today. And he points to a new paper that's been published, as well as a website that we're going to take a look at. I'll put a link for his video in the description box below if you want to get into the science of this. He goes through it and gives a very detailed explanation of what's going on here, but I'm just going to give you the layman's version. Okay, so we have this paper. This is on arxiv.org. The name of the paper is Extreme Negative Polarization of New Interstellar Comet 3I Atlas. The date on this is the 5th of September, 2025. Here are all the people that were involved in this. And let me just read you some of the highlights. Our polarimetric measurements as a function of phase angle reveal that, and don't get intimidated by the jargon here. I'm going to make it very, very simple, but I just need to read this. Reveal that 3I is characterized by a deep and narrow negative polarization branch reaching a minimum value of, a combination unprecedented among asteroids and comets, including 2I Borisov, which was the interstellar object before this one. If we go to my spreadsheet called Signs, Comets, Meteors, and Asteroids, this is the fourth interstellar object that humanity has observed. They usually call this one the third, I think because there are three that have stayed in space. They haven't crashed to Earth. But as far as I can tell, the first one, which was a meteorite that did crash to Earth, that was discovered back in 2014. But as far as objects that have remained in space, the first one was Oumuamua in 2017. Just a few months before President Nelson became president of the church. I want to point that out. And then August of 2019, that's when we observed 2I Borisov, the first observed rogue comet, because they still don't even know what Oumuamua was. They think that it was like an asteroid or something like that. But Borisov would have been the first rogue comet or interstellar comet. And now we're talking about 3I Atlas, and they don't really know. Like I said, the consensus is that they think it's a comet. That's the most likely explanation, but they don't know, as you're about to see. So what it's saying here is they took light measurements having to do with polarity. You know how you can get glasses with polarized lenses, That's basically what we're talking about. They observed 3i Atlas and they looked at its polarity, like of the light. And what they discovered is the measurements that they took don't match with other celestial bodies, like asteroids, comets, including 2i Borisov, which is notable because that's the closest thing to 3i Atlas. That was a rogue comet. They think that this is a rogue comet, but they don't look the same. Does it make sense? All right, continuing. These findings may demonstrate that 3i represents a distinct type of comet, expanding the diversity of known interstellar bodies. Okay, later on, they show this graph with these curves. And just in a nutshell, like I said, if you want the exact explanation and what you're seeing here, watch this video. I'm not a scientist, but I don't need to be to just simply point out that if we look at this one on the left, this gray curve right here represents other comets. This is what you typically see when you're measuring the polarization of light from other comets. It looks like this. In the case of Comet Halley-Bopp, it was this green curve right here. And the black curve is 3i Atlas. So this is how different it is when you measure the light in the polarization. It's like way off. We've never seen it before. These little black symbols right here represent actual measurements, and then the rest of the line is an extrapolation. To the right, it's the same curve for 3i Atlas, this black curve. It's the same thing, but they have these other objects, and I can't remember what he said, but I think that these are, I'm not sure. I think they're either like asteroids or dwarf planets or just other potentially like near Earth objects. I'm not sure with each one. I know that this little blue symbol here is for trans-Neptunian objects, which are objects that are outside of Neptune's orbit. There's a class of objects called trans-Neptunian objects. But all you need to know is that this looks different, and you can see that with the black line. It's substantially different. So that is noteworthy. Because again, if it's a rogue comet, I forgot this. Look at the blue symbols right here. These are the measurements for 2i Borisov, which should be, the same type of thing as what we see with 3i Atlas. They seem to be the same thing, but not really. 2i Borisov was more closely aligned with other comets, whether just regular comets or Comet Halley-Bopp. The green is Halley-Bopp, the gray is other comets. So even Borisov is substantially different from 3i Atlas. Okay, and then on top of that, you have these images here, and I'm not sure that I fully understood exactly what we're looking at, but Stephen Burns said that it's growing. And when he says growing, I remember he was talking about the plasma structure in the coma of this object. Comets have what's called a coma. It's like a mini atmosphere, a layer of gas and dust that surrounds the nucleus. And so you can also have plasma, is my understanding. And something having to do with the plasma structure is growing. These measurements go from July 19th until August 21st. So that's the range for these images. Okay. I do want to point out that before this point, if we look at the timeline of this, it was discovered July 1st of this year. And then they went into the old data, because it's not like somebody is actually looking at the sky every single second of the day. They take a look at the data, they notice something, and then you can go back in the archives, and that's called pre-covery. So they discovered it July 1st of this year. They went into the archives, did a pre-covery of data, and they noticed that within that period, from June until May, well, specifically May 7th until June 3rd, this object suddenly became brighter by a factor of 5. And then since that time, this plasma structure, which seems to be emitting light, has grown. Okay, so it's growing. And that kind of harkens back potentially to what Joe Smith said about the sign of the Son of Man, that it would be small at first and grow larger and larger. I don't know if that's simply because the sign of the Son of Man, which I think is just simply Christ with the host of heaven, including the city of Enoch and all the resurrected saints. I feel like it could just be them approaching Earth, and so it looks like they're getting bigger and bigger. They're just getting closer. In this case, with these measurements, it looks like this object is actually, at least the coma, is actually getting bigger and brighter. So make of that what you will. Back to the paper. So this is new. And then later on, and this is what really blew my mind, despite sharing a small inversion angle with these unique cases, the depth of 3I's negative polarization branch still sets it apart entirely. We report the first clear example of a planetary body. Okay, planetary body. That's what made me think of Joe Smith's quote. They're going to say it's a comet, a planet. Now, I wanted to make sure I, did my research. This doesn't say a planet. It says planetary body. And so when you look up planetary bodies, I just did, Wikipedia. It's good enough for our purposes. Planetary mass object, or a planetary body. By geophysical definition of celestial objects, any celestial object massive enough to achieve hydrostatic equilibrium, but not enough to sustain core fusion like a star. And then it has examples right here. They include planets, dwarf planets, planetary mass satellites, and free-floating planets, which may have been ejected from a system, or rogue planets, or formed through cloud collapse rather than accretion. Okay, so and then it has like this picture that you can look at. So it's basically, it's just, it's it's like either a planet or like these like dwarf planets. Okay, I'm not going to try and redefine it. I read what it said. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. Comets are not included as planetary objects. Okay, comets are not here. Neither are asteroids, unless I'm misunderstanding something here. It says planetary mass satellites. Maybe that can include asteroids. I'm not sure. But it doesn't say comets. So you get it? So as they're trying to decide if it's a comet or something else, they're also considering it potentially a planetary body, which is this class of objects right here. Here's an example. This is Haumea. This is from NASA, so it's a thing that looks like this. I suppose this would probably be larger than an asteroid, more mass, and it's been rounded. It's kind of smooth. I don't know. But back to the paper. We report the first clear example of a planetary body whose polarimetric behavior is dominated by such deep and narrow negative polarization branch. Such behavior has never been observed among solar system objects. Let me say that again. Such behavior has never been observed among solar system objects, not in comets, which typically show shallower negative branches and larger inversion angles, nor in asteroids, even those belonging to rare and unusual taxonomic classes. And then later on, this is in section 5 for summary and conclusions. It basically says the same thing, but they reiterate. Overall, the combination of low inversion angle and extreme negative polarization is unprecedented among comets and asteroids, marking 3I as the first object known with such polarimetric behavior and possibly representing a previously unobserved class of small planetary bodies. Okay, so there it is. Let's read this again. Then will appear one grand sign of the Son of Man in heaven, but what will the world do? They will say it is a planet, a comet, etc. Out of all these objects that I've been keeping track of ever since I started this channel back in 2021, this one seems to fit the Joe Smith description the best. We have seen some other strange comets, but, especially this one right here, 12P Pons Brooks. This one did all sorts of things. It changed shape. It changed colors. It was supposed to be visible to the naked eye during the 2024 eclipse if you were in the path of totality. Unfortunately, I did not see that. It had an interesting shape. Some people said it looked like the Millennium Falcon. Other people called it devil horns. So we have seen some strange things on here, but not like this. Not like 3i Atlas. But there's more. There's more for me to share with you. Okay, so Stephen Burns also pointed out this article on spaceweather.com. This is from September 9th. Interstellar comet imaged during lunar eclipse. On September 7th, darkness fell across the Kalahari Desert as Earth's shadow enveloped the full moon. It was a total lunar eclipse and the perfect time to photograph an interstellar comet. Here's the picture right here. You can see that it's green. The sight is familiar to astronomers. Comets in our own solar system often glow green. Their emerald hue comes from diatomic carbon, or C2, which fluoresces at 518 nanometers when energized by sunlight. Is that why 3i Atlas is green? The jury is still out. In August, spectroscopy by astronomers at Kitt Peak showed that 3i Atlas was strongly depleted in C2. Perhaps C2 production turned on in September, or the green glow might come from some other mix of gas or dust, mimicking a classic cometary color with unfamiliar chemistry. So, in other words, what it takes to make this green color seems to be lacking, unless through some process C2 has been released or whatever, and so it's glowing green like other objects would, like comets, or there's some other mix of gases or chemicals, elements that are producing this green glow. They don't know. It's just another mystery. In this video, he talks about the fact that it's red, like before the green glow, it's red, and a lot of other comets and things from outside the orbit of Neptune are red, so that's not uncommon. But this is a little bit unusual based on, their readings of what elements and molecules and stuff make up this object. So, okay, so let's go back to my spreadsheet. Let's just do the whole timeline. So from May 7th until June 3rd, it suddenly became 5 times brighter. This is from the pre-covery data. July 1st, it was officially discovered. During that time, let's correct that typo. During that time, they measured the speed and figured out the trajectory. And just another thing that makes this unusual is its speed. If it is a comet, it's the fastest comet ever observed so far. It's the fastest one. It's going really fast. 130,000 miles per hour, or 209,000 kilometers per hour. It's also been said that the trajectory is unusual. At least Avi Loeb said that, because it's going to come really close to, let's see, let me zoom out. So here's 3i Atlas. It's going to come really close to Mars as well as Jupiter. Let me zoom out. There's Jupiter right there. He's taking it from the approach that he thinks that this might be an extraterrestrial ship. in that it doesn't really want to be observed. And so it's coming by at a time that it's going to be on the opposite side of the sun. So it'll be hard for us to observe. I don't necessarily subscribe to that idea, but he says that it's an unusual trajectory. And it is anyway, just because that's how they know or theorize that it's an interstellar object, because unlike other comets, they have a elliptical orbit. This one, the way that it's coming in, the speed, it would break that pattern. It would have to come from outside the solar system. Okay, then let's see. It was observed to be most likely emitting its own light. And that's something that they're still debating. Avilob thinks that it could be a spacecraft, and that's why it's emitting its own light. But when they take those light measurements, it doesn't really make sense with like the size and everything that it would be reflecting light, or that it would be coming from the coma. It seems to be coming from the nucleus itself if we're talking about a comet. So it seems like it's emitting its own light. And then we talked about the coma plasma growth that's been observed with this new paper that's been published. The I don't know how to say that, polarimetric behavior. So these curves right here are unusual, and they don't match other comets, not even 2I Borisov. Let's see. And then we talked about it glowing green. So those are, as far as I know, those are all the unusual characteristics about this. And it's probably the largest list of unusual characteristics that I've seen so far on my channel in any of these asteroids or comets. Okay, so that's why I'm kind of excited about it. And then it's going to make its closest approach to Mars, October 2nd. Its closest approach to the Sun, or perihelion, on the 30th of October. And then closest approach to Earth, not that it's going to be very close, and I don't think it's going to be visible to the naked eye, but its closest approach to Earth on December 19th. And if this is the sign of the Son of Man, if it is Christ coming with all the saints and the host of heaven and the city of Enoch and everything else, who's to say it won't speed up? Who's to say that it's going to stay on this trajectory? Who's to say that it won't change course and then all of a sudden suddenly come to Earth? So we'll just have to wait and see. If this is not the sign of the Son of Man, I think you could still classify it as a wonder, a sign and a wonder in the heavens. And we've had a lot of those lately, especially last year with the auroras and the eclipse and all that stuff. There was also a comet last year that was visible to the naked eye. I took pictures of it. But at the very least, I would say that this is a sign and a wonder in the heavens. So, and if it is Christ, if it is the sign and Son of Man, then that's even more exciting. I hope that it is. Okay, that's going to be it for this one. I'll talk to you guys later.